Greetings, Magic players. This is Steve from Untapped Games. It's been a long time since I've made one of these videos, and I apologize. I have been sick. I was sick for Kaladesh, and then I was sick for Commander. So I'm fine now. Just got fresh off of my Aether Revolt pre-release, and we're gonna open a box of it. Aether Revolt looks like a pretty awesome set, so I'm excited about it. A lot of cool stuff in this set, especially in the uncommon slot, and there's also more masterpieces. So we're gonna hope to get some masterpieces, but not expect it because they're not guaranteed in every box. I'm gonna go through this first column of packs, kind of slow, kind of like just check out what this set's about, see how things go, and then the next ones I'll kind of speed things up. We got an Aether Geode Miner. That's a 1 and a white for a Dwarf Scout. Whenever Aether Geode Miner attacks, you get 2 energy. You can pay 2 energy to exile Aether Geode Miner, then return it to the battlefield under owner's control, and it's a 3/1. So it's a very aggressive card. It's 3/1 for 2, and it also has a very special form of evasion. Because whenever it's attacking, you can just immediately decide to exile it with the energy that you get from attacking to keep it alive if it gets blocked. So they could choose whether to let that 3 through if they have a blocker, or maybe you have a pump spell in your hand and you could use that to just wreck their blocker. So that's really good. I actually had 2 of these in my my sealed deck and pre-release, and as you can imagine, he was pretty awesome. Oh, this comment right here, I love this. It's basically a pacifism, but it's called Caught in the Brights, and you see it's got a gremlin in the art that's caught in the headlights. But and aside from being a pacifism, when a vehicle you control attacks, exile enchanted creature. It's such a great card, great flavor. All right, so. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool removal in this set. I'm hoping to get some of it. Because, oh, here's some of it. Shock. Shock's back. Deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Which is great because, oh, also Ornithopter is back. It's a 0/2 flyer. Can get shocked. Alright, we got a Peace Walker Colossus. That's 3 mana for a 6/6. For 1 and a white, another target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn, and you crew it for 4. So yeah, that's pretty awesome, because if you have things that have high crew cost, you can just kind of sit there and crew everything for you if you have enough mana open. Alright, Solemn Recruit, 1 and 2 white for a 2/2 double striker. He also has an ability that's new to the set called Revolt. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Solemn Recruit. So the nice thing about this is Revolt is very good for, it's widely applicable in Magic, because not only can something have been sacrificed on your turn, or maybe your opponent bounced something on your turn, that activates the ability. All of the Revolt abilities have to do with permanents leaving play. Because it's permanent, it also activates things like fetch lands, clue tokens, things that aren't creatures. So it's very good. Comes up a lot, very relevant all the time. So that has some pretty cool design in it, based around that mechanic. Alright, Lifecrafter's Bestiary. 3 mana, it's an artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may pay green. If you do, draw a card. I had this in sealed for one of my sealed games, and that card probably helped win. I mean, it did. It definitely helped win. It's great to be able to fish through your deck at the beginning of your upkeep for the next thing that you need. And then you can draw it if you cast a creature spell. So if it's a creature heavy deck, it's really good. Scrap Trawler, that's 3 for an artifact creature construct. It's a 3/2. Whenever it or another artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return to your hand target artifact in your graveyard with lesser converted mana cost. So that's really good for recycling your artifacts, especially if you've been sacrificing them for revolts, or there's a lot of, that's another theme of this set, is trading down for things. Hopefully we see some of the cycles that utilize that mechanic. Okay, so Baral, Chief of Compliance. He's a great card. So for 1 and a blue, legendary creature, human wizard. In the lore, this is the guy who killed Chandra's father. So blue is the opponent in this set, which is kind of, it's appropriate because the red planeswalker is the hero of this set, and blue is opposing red on in the mana pie. So his abilities read: instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever a spell or ability you control counters a spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So obviously this guy makes control decks very, very good. And I think part of what Wizards is doing with these creatures, and I mean, this is the first one we've seen so far in Aether Revolt, but it seems like they're letting control and burn happen, but they want you to have a board state in order for them to happen. So, you know, if you want to have like an efficient control deck, you need to have this guy out, which is okay. He's cheap. You can get him out early game. He makes everything else much more viable. He makes some of the counter spells in this set extremely efficient. So, especially if you're drawing cards off of them, so good. Or you're filtering, you're looting, not drawing. Yahenni's Expertise is a great card. This is a nice sweeper effect. So 2 and 2 black for a sorcery. All creatures get -3/-3 until end of turn, and you may cast a card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So that's another trade down effect that I was talking about. Except it's better than Scrap Trawler, because instead of just putting it in your hand, you're trading down and just casting something just for free. That's 3 or less. So let me make some room here. It's this stuff still unshot. Some good cards so far. Did I miss foil or anything? I don't think so. If I did miss foil, somebody in the comments would definitely tell me. So I'm counting on you guys. Okay. We all call for Unity. 3 and 2 white for enchantment. Has Revolt at the beginning of your end step. If a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, put a Unity counter on call for Unity. Creatures you control get +1/+1 for each Unity counter on call of Unity. Call for Unity, rather. That's really cool. Anthem enchantment. Get your creatures huge. Start with little guys, make them big. It's a little expensive, but with Revolt, if you save up a lot of things like clue counters from Thraben Inspectors or something like that, then you can get that going pretty quickly after it gets into play. Lightning Runner, first mythic, I believe. Is it the first mythic? I think so. Yeah. Lightning Runner, 3 and 2 red for a human warrior, 2/2, double strike haste. Whenever Lightning Runner attacks, you get 2 energy counters. Then you may pay 8 energy counters. That's hard to read. If you pay, untap all creatures you control, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Awesome thing about this is it doesn't limit the additional combat phases to 1 per turn. So if you have Lightning Runner, let's say just that you had just crazy scenario, let's say you had 4 lightning runners, then you'd be able to attack with them. You'd get 8 mana, and then you could pay the 8 mana to get an additional combat phase, and then you just get infinite combat phases as long as they all stayed alive. But less crazy than that, something like Aether Geode Miner. There's a lot of things that get energy for attacking, so it's pretty cool. That there's a potential for infinite combat. Okay. Brawl's expertise. So this is part of the cycle. You see Yahenni's expertise. This is Brawl's expertise. I think we're going from probably the best expertise to the worst, but whatever, you know. 3 and 2 blue. Sorcery, return up to 3 target artifacts and/or creatures to their owner's hands. You may cast a card with converted mana cost 4 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So it's pertinent against decks that have artifacts in them. Keep in mind though that if you use that on your own artifact, that counts as triggering Revolt. So you may want to do that. Okay. So, Heroic Intervention, that's 1 and a green. For an instant, permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So it's kind of like a root-borne defenses kind of a thing. Okay. Neat combat trick for relatively cheap. Quicksmith Spy, 3 and a blue. For a human artificer, when it enters the battlefield, target artifact you control gains tap, draw a card for as long as you control Quicksmith Spy. It's hard to say. And it's a 2/3. Okay. Next is another walking. Oh no, I don't have a walking ballista. I had a Peace Walker Colossus. So that's 2x or x twice. Walking ballista enters the battlefield with x +1/+1 counters on it. For 4 mana, you can put a +1/+1 counter on walking ballista and remove a +1/+1 counter from it to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So this is cool because in the early game you could just start setting him up. In the late game, you can basically could turn into kind of a fireball, a very expensive fireball, but a fireball. So if you have a lot of ways of making mana, that's pretty cool. Oh, I did this completely wrong. I forgot that I had this pile over here. So I'm going to start going through these quicker because I've been taking from the box. Oh, well, I'm going to slow down for this. Heart of Karen, a 2 mana for a 4/4 legendary artifact vehicle. So I didn't go over what vehicles are last time, but I've already pulled one. But basically, it has a crew value. Tap any number of creatures you control with total power 3 or more. This vehicle becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. So it's a 4/4, but it's not a 4/4, if you get my meaning. Like when it comes out, it's just a thing. But it becomes a 4/4 if you crew it. And it's got flying and vigilance. That's cool. He's basically a cheap Sarah Angel that needs a crew. And then you may remove a loyalty counter from Planeswalker you control rather than pay Heart of Karen's crew cost. So unlike other other vehicles, this can actually essentially get crewed by your Planeswalkers. So you put it in a deck that has Planeswalkers, and this is a very cheap 4/4, and that can happen on you're used to loyalty counters and loyalty effects happening as a sorcery, but that can happen on your opponent's turn. So you can crew this, just subtract a loyalty counter from a planeswalker on your opponent's turn to get a 4/4 blocker with flying. So that's pretty cool. It's really cool. So it's a very good card. Now that Smuggler's Copter's banned, it's probably going to see a lot of play. One of those packs that's hard to open. Alright, I got a foil Emerald Gear Smasher, which is pretty good and limited. Freedom Regent, it's fun to say. It's a big dragon, it's got fire breathing, and Improvise. I'll go over a little bit what Improvise is. Your artifacts can help cast this spell each artifact you tap. After you're done activating mana abilities, pays for 1. So this is like kind of like a Shivan Dragon, but you can get him out earlier, and he's got his fire breathing effect is a little different. But yeah, that's pretty cool. It's not great, but it's good. Ooh, Dark Intimations. That's 2, a blue, a black, and a red. So in those colors, I wonder who that could presage. It's a sorcery. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, then discards a card. You return a creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand, then draw a card. Oh, it's a little bit like Cruel Ultimatum, not quite. When you cast a Bolus, a Bolus planeswalker spell, exile Dark Intimations from your graveyard. That planeswalker enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on it. So obviously we're setting ourselves up for a set that features around Nicol Bolas himself, and that makes sense because Tezzeret is in this set. So that is exciting. Let's get that in shot. Hopefully we don't get too many green cards. Alright. Well, I mean, cat's kind of out of the bag if you watch any Magic news, because Hour of Devastation looks like it's going to have Nicol Bolas in it, if not the next set. What? Holy cow! Oh man, I said I wanted one and I got one. Oh gosh. And this is a good one too. Wormcoil Engine. So this is a masterpiece. This is the first masterpiece I've pulled, so holy cow, that's awesome. So as you can see, masterpieces are super foily. They've got this this filigree art around the border. So that's, wow, that's really cool. I said I was going to go faster, but I'm going to relish this for just a sec. So that's a 6/6 Death Touch Lifelink Worm. When Wormcoil Engine dies, create a 3/3 colorless worm artifact creature token with Death Touch and a 3/3 colorless worm artifact creature token with lifelink. It's so good. Oh man, the art for that looks so cool too. I mean, it kind of pays homage to the original Mirrodin, the Wormcoil Engine from Mirrodin, but he looks so Kaladesh with all the gold and the shiny ether in there. Well, I don't know. I want to end on that, but I've got the rest of the booster box to go through. I'm just going to push this back, put this guy in a place of reverence right there. I'm going to have to sleeve this as soon as this video ends, because that's really cool. Oh, and I got a scrap trawl or whatever. Wow. Well, I'm happy to be back doing these, if that's the type of thing I'll be drawing. Ooh, mechanized production. This is cool. I kept on saying that I was going to slow down, but that I was going to speed up, but this is a really cool card. So 2 and a blue, enchant artifact you control at the beginning of your upkeep. Create a token that's a copy of the enchanted artifact. Then if you control 8 or more artifacts with the same name as one another, you win the game. So this is really cool. One of the cool things you can do with this is you can make a bunch of clues in the early part of the game, and then you can play this on a clue, and then you could win really quickly. So they basically have to respond before your upkeep. If you have 8 clues already, or actually if you have 7 clues already after you cast this, then yeah, it's good. I still kind of have like Wormcoil Engine tremors. So, all right, let's see if we can go faster. I don't pull anything cool. Oh, this Rishkar Pima Renegade. He is cool. I had 2 of him in my two-headed giant pre-release. Ooh, and I got 8 from the cowl. So that's a cool foil rare. Yeah, Rishkar is in the same cycle of color champions as Baral and Jaheni. There's a guy, Sram, and this is a red one. Can't remember the red one. Ooh, Metallic Mimic. And that's a Shapeshifter. Pretty cool. You can kind of get your tribal stuff going. There's a lot of good stuff for even archetypes that are outside this set going on, which, I mean, every Magic set has that going on to some degree, but especially with Revolt, because it's very relevant in a lot of other settings. Glintleaf Siphoner. It's another one that gets energy for attacking. What did I miss here? Oh, Aethertide Whale. He's a big bruiser. He gives you a lot of energy, and then you can bounce him back to your hand when he gets in trouble. Activating Revolt. Spire of Industry. This is a pretty cool card. It's a nice land. It's kind of a bit like a pain land that requires you to. So I guess it's kind of like a brass city. City of brass, that is. That's what normal people call it. Spiritualizing an artifact. Solemn Recruit. Already have one. Put it with the others. Let's shift things a little. So I'm starting to get so many artifacts. Okay. Which makes sense. This whole set, this whole block features around artifacts, but it features around them in a very different way than Mirrodin did, so that's cool. It features around artifacts as tools, not as people. Battle at the Bridge. Say a nice removal spell. Drain something. Whoa, whoa. I thought the fun was over. A Johnny Unyielding. 4, a green and a white. I mean, I didn't even say at the beginning that I wanted planeswalkers, so I mean, I already got what I wanted. Should I put them back? I don't know. I'll read them. So that's +2 ability, reveal the top 3 cards of your library. Put all non-land permanent cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So you kind of just fish for creatures, in other words. -2, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power, so it's like a Swords to Plowshares. And its -9 ability is put 5 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, and 5 loyalty counters on each other planeswalker you control. Starts off at 4, so, I mean, it's like 4 turns before you can do that. You better win the game if you do that, you know. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. He's gonna be great in some sort of commander deck using like Atraxa or you know some Super Friends situation. He's great in. Midnight Entourage. It's Aetherborn Lord. Disallow. This is great, great counter spell. This one came a little bit dinged. That's too bad. So that's 1 and 2 blue for instant counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. Strictly better monocolor Void Slime. Rip Void Slime. I mean, you know, I guess you could, if you're playing a green blue deck, you can play 4, but I don't know if that's overkill. I mean, play 8, not 4. Secret Salvage. I can't remember what this does. 3 and 2 black, exile target non-land card from your graveyard. Search your library for any number of cards with the same name. Reveal them, put them into your hand, and shuffle your library. I see. So it's kind of like a very expensive way to tutor for a bunch of stuff. All right, Consulate Crackdown. Exiles all of your opponent's artifacts. It's basically like an O-ring just for every artifact your opponent controls. War of Invention. It's an improvised spell. You can you search a library for an artifact card with converted mana cost X or less. That's pretty cool. Because you already have artifacts in play, they help you get something out. Ceram's Expertise. Ooh, nice Spire Patrol foil. Ceram's Expertise, 2 and 2 white. It's sorcery. You create 3 colorless servo artifact tokens. You may cast a card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Pretty cool. Okay. We're doing final lap here. Ooh, and speaking of SRAM, here's his card. He's 1 and a white, legendary dwarf artificer advisor. He kind of looks like an artificer. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, draw a card, and he's a 2/2. Obviously in the right deck. It's really good. You got a foil decommission. Inspiring Statuary. Non-artifact spells you have, non-artifact spells you cast have improvise. I can see that being a pretty cool enabler for something else, but I can't think of what. Okay. Ooh, this is the one that I couldn't think of. Why couldn't I? She's kind of the coolest, actually. Karizev, Skyship Raider, 1 and a red. Legendary creature, human pirate. First strike, menace, 1/3. Whenever she attacks, create a legendary 2/1 red monkey creature token named Ragavan that's tapped and attacking. Exile that token at the end of combat. She's really cool. I played against her in pre-release, and she's very tricky to deal with. Especially that menace is kind of what makes her. I mean, menace and first strike together is very good. But you have trouble blocking her, so she's just throwing monkeys at you. It's great. Good times. Oath of Ajani. This is my last pack. Oath of Ajani, and that's green and a white. When it's a legendary enchantment, when Oath of Ajani enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Planeswalker spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. There's 2 powerful effects that don't necessarily go together, but it's cool to see that Ajani's in the Gatewatch now. He's got his own Gatewatch pledge art, and he says, "Until all have found their place, I will keep watch." Ajani seems like such a cool guy. So yeah, that was the. I think that was a pretty good box. I mean, just going off of the fact that I drew a Wormcoil Engine Masterpiece And I also got Planeswalker. I got, well, I mean, you guys can read. This is all the stuff I got. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, please tell me so in the comments. Also, we have another contest running, so you can win half a booster box of Aether Revolt if you go into the comment section, and you can read the description. The description tells you how. There's multiple ways to enter, but you just have to basically tell me what is the what's your favorite card from this. We'll say, obviously, most people are going to say the Wormcoil Engine. For the sake of the comments, tell me, beside Wormcoil Engine, what is your favorite thing in this box, and just let me know, and you'll be entered for a chance to win, and I'll be pulling the name for that at the end of this month, and we'll send two people half a booster box of Aether Revolt. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Take care. Bye-bye.